Hello, and thank you for checking in to the Neutral Zone Hotel, an unapologetically left-leaning podcast exploring hockey at its best and worst. My name is SJ, my pronouns are they, them, and I'm so pleased to welcome you to the Neutral Zone Hotel. I am a Seattle Kraken and PWHL Seattle fan. Let me now introduce some of my glorious colleagues.
Hey, it's Benjamin. My pronouns are he, him. I am a Montreal Canadiens and Ottawa Charge fan in Ottawa, Ontario. And, I am absolutely stunned by some of the things that have happened in hockey over the last 7 days. That's why we had to take an extra day to do it. I was too stunned to record.
Amongst other things. Hi, everybody. Trevor's here.
I thought that would be funnier, but that's okay.
My pronouns are he, him, the regretful fan of the Vancouver Canucks, the hopeful fan of PWHL Vancouver, and fan of another franchise that maybe we'll talk about later that has caused me to finally not be disappointed in a hockey team or any sports team for the first time in 14 years.
I'd like to note that Trevor is still wearing his Abbotsford Canucks jersey. I can only assume he hasn't taken it off since the Canucks won the Calder Cup.
Yes, maybe it should go in the laundry. Just maybe. But maybe, you know what? No, maybe it's lucky. Maybe I can't anymore.
Well, I assume you've just been showering with it on, so it's getting like you're soaping it up. Is that how it's working, or no?
I mean, it does have to come off for work, but, outside of work, who can say? Who can say, really?
Okay. All right. Well, we won't explore that too much. Let's just get right into the show. Huh?
Talk about exploring hockey at its worst right there.
That's not... everybody, make sure to shower, people. Even if you're really excited and really drunk because your team won the Calder Cup.
Christ.
Based on the videos I've seen on social media, I assumed not a single Florida Panther has showered in the last week. They've just been nonstop partying. But we're not here to talk about the Florida Panthers or even the Abbotsford Canucks so much. We are here... Right now, we're going to actually jump into the PWHL. It has been a big week for the PWHL. And first off, just let's get it out of the way and let's talk PWHL Awards, which they were awarded, today as we record. So Coach of the Year was Corey Chevery of the Montreal Victoire. She did lead her team to a resounding win of the regular season. Defender of the Year was Renata Fast of the Toronto Scepters. Goalie of the Year, Henri Desbiens of the Montreal Victoire. Rookie of the Year, Sarah Fillier of the New York Sirens. Forward of the Year, Marie-Philippe Poulin of the Montreal Victoire, and absolutely not least, even though it is last, because I said these in no particular order, most valuable player, Marie-Philippe Poulin of the Montreal Victoire. What did you all think of how the awards came out this year?
You mentioned how Corey Chevery had led her team to a commanding and a resounding regular season. She also led them to a commanding and resounding loss in round 1 to the Ottawa Charge. So
it's a regular season award, Trevor.
That's right.
Let me hype your team up. God damn it,
Corey can have it. It's fine. I just want to point out I went to the PWHL website and took a look at the awards right now, and they had a link to some of the press photo shots from today's ceremony, and they've just given them all giant bottles of alcohol.
They really are just like.
Yeah, Woody.
Oh,
Woody
I
Creek
see them there too.
Distillers.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Woody Creek Distillers is a early sponsor of the league. Probably got a good deal before the league really started to charge good rates. And just every single person, every single woman they're showing here just has a massive fuck off bottle of alcohol.
Oh, that's last year's awards.
Is it? Oh, geez, that is last year's awards.
Oh,
you know what?
Man.
I hope they got the big fuck off bottles this year.
No kidding.
Just really.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I thought you were making a joke too of what the awards look like. Because
no, they need real trophies. You were saying this on our Discord,
100%.
Hotel.com/Discord. You were saying this on the Discord earlier. They need real trophies, and they absolutely do. The little glass one-off things stink.
They look like the thing you just find online for like your corporate event for like $30 a pop or something like that. Like. It's great. I'm glad they got something to recognize it, but like, could you not get like still like even the most basic of like bowls on a wooden stand that at least has each name written out year by year? Like, let's show some history in there.
I'm showing off my fantasy hockey league trophy right now. This is great for the audio medium that is podcasting, but you'll notice right on the back, that's me. So if my fantasy hockey league can figure this out, the PWHL should be able to.
No kidding.
They spent all of their trophy money on the Walter Cup, so they gotta refill.
It's real nice in person.
Yeah, you got to see it. We saw a picture of you with it.
Yeah, we well, I guess we'll talk about this when we get to the draft, but yeah, it was nice. Honestly, the rewards were chalk. It was exactly what I would have predicted if I had a betting slip.
100%.
Absolute domination by the Victoire, with only a token Defender of the Year and Rookie of the Year in there for other teams.
And I mean, Sarah Fillier was the best rookie.
Yeah, not close. I'm sorry to say.
Maybe if Gwyneth Phillips had played the whole year, she would have gotten Renee Debian a run or Sarah Fillier a run in the goaltender and rookie categories, but she didn't. Poulin put in an astronomical amount of goals. I don't personally have any qualms with this. It's just not interesting or exciting, with the exception, in my opinion, of Defender. So I think Sophie Jakes should have won that award. Nothing against Renata Fast, who was an excellent hockey player, but I think that Jakes must have been pulled down by sharing some of the spotlight with Claire Thompson, and I would not be surprised if we see that happen again tomorrow. I would not be surprised if we see that again next season, because she's found herself in the same situation, vying for the title of 1D on a team. Just a different team.
So it is worth noting that both Fast and Jakes were on the first team All-Star team. They shared that as defenders. So I agree. If Fast had a challenger, it was Jakes. Yeah, could be. Claire Thompson made second team All-Star team. She shared that with Ella Shelton, who got moved at the draft yesterday.
We'll talk about that.
We will talk about that.
Can we just take a moment to realize that of the 4 All-Star defenders, only one's going to be playing for that other team listed for next year?
But all of the award winners are remaining with their current teams. Yeah.
I mean, you'd have to move out of Internet to get Marie-Philippe Poulin out of Montreal, and even then, I'm pretty sure she said, all right, nope, I'm done.
You did say you weren't sure if Gwyneth Phillips could have taken a run at Fillier for Rookie of the Year. Phillips did make the all-rookie team as the goaltender on there. So I think an obvious pick for that.
Pretty easy choice. Phillips, I think, definitely established herself as a dominant force in the league last year.
Yeah, absolutely. I hope she has another great year.
Me too. Unsurprisingly, me too. We want to chat about the draft?
Yeah, let's move on. Let's talk about the PWHL entry draft for 2025. It was long.
It was a fun spectacle to watch, at least over the broadcast. I don't know how you feel about that shit, but I had fun. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was interesting enough. They made some very odd production choices that came across, and I was I thought were a little weird. But I definitely think they spent all of the money on the draft that they absolutely did not spend on the expansion draft. So certainly much more, let's say, produced and a little more TV ready, if only because TSN actually did produce the entry draft. But Benjamin, you were actually there in person, in physical form. So why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. So the PWHL advertised a fan fest for the draft in advance, and I think they were expecting more people to show up than actually. So I got there around 5:30. I worked until 5. The fan fest opened at 3. By the time I got there, they had set up a purple carpet with a balloon arch. It had a balloon arch. It was magnificent. There was no backdrop. Players were kind of walking up and getting questions from various beat reporters, doing some signings for fans hanging on the side. I did not watch any of this because I was not interested in it. Instead, I went to the promised food trucks. Unfortunately, there was it's only food trucks if you consider Beaver Tails food. So,
oh, no way.
They had one pizza food truck, and they had the Beaver Tails van there. So I got a pizza, which was fine. Fine. It was very warm. They had a merchandise stand. There was a upper deck PWHL cards stand that I did not visit because I wanted to get inside as soon as I finished eating my pizza because it was very, very warm. They set up a huge screen outside, and absolutely, there was 3 people there when I left, and they were Minnesota Frost fans. And I just assumed the only reason they were there is because they were too afraid to go into the building. So I would say the outside was poorly signed. It wasn't clear where I went to get in. I had to kind of figure it out. You had to walk up the purple carpet, not on it, but beside it, and then go in an entrance that was just past where the players were going in. But once you got inside, it made sense the way they did it, why it was, because there was floor was for the players and players' families, and then the back of it had the stadium style seat, the temporary stadium style seating that was for the for the paying fans. And it was only $15 a seat, so it's not like this was an expensive evening out.
Mm-hmm.
So we got there. They guided us sort of into our seats. And we were there. We went in an hour early because it was really, really warm out. Chatted with a couple other fans. They had players were coming in. So right in front of us, I was sitting kind of down at the bottom stair, the bottom row of the bleachers. So right in front of me was three rows they set aside for a local girls group. And then it was the barrier and then the players. So sitting right in front of me for the first part of the night was, before the draft started, was Mike Hirshfeld and Carla McLeod. Aaron Ambrose had a table right in front of me with some of the other Montreal defender ladies, including Kayla Barnes. Obviously isn't now, but I guess they're still pals. Ashton Bell was hanging out around in that area. Mary Philippe Glenn showed up after a while. She showed up, and all the little girls in front of me just kind of swarmed over. She did a bunch of photos and autographs and stuff, so that was cool.
Mm-hmm.
Right after she got picked second overall,
oh, spoilers.
Haley Wynn came and sat down right in front, literally right in front of me, and chatted with. So she must have known someone there. And Yeah, Aaron Ambrose was all around that area all night. So like you were really close. You were really close to sort of the events. And they were serving very nice food to the players, nice hors d'oeuvres, and I don't think I saw an empty wine glass all night. And I could go and buy a hot dog. So they did not advertise that there was anything else going on in the arena or in the building. They did not advertise, like they didn't even send us through where the refreshments were to get to the other side of the seats. We kind of had to wiggle our way through. But they did have some refreshments going, a couple beers on, not even on tap, cans, Coke products, and hot dogs and snacks. I paid $50 for a cider, a Coke, and 2 hot dogs. So it was not. It was more.
That is brutal.
More expensive than going to TD Place.
Wow.
I guess that's what you get when you pay only $15 to get in.
And it was very funny because I'm sitting there eating this, and to be fair, it was a really good hot dog for an event hot dog. It was really good. But I'm eating this hot dog, and I'm like watching as like some players are getting these very fancy things brought up to them, and I'm like, boy, way to make me feel like I'm one of the like I'm valued. The other thing,
that's how the other half lives.
The other thing that
I wanted to joke that you were one of the plebes.
The plebeians, yes. More plebs are needed. So the one thing that I found when we stepped out to go find, someone said, hey, there's hot dogs around there, so we went and found them. We walked right out, and boom, there was the Walter Cup. No idea it was there. No idea they had someone from the Hockey Hall of Fame doing pictures and making sure you didn't steal it. They did not advertise it. You just kind of walked out and it was there. And I was like, this feels like it's a missed opportunity. I don't remember anywhere in the press saying they were going to do photo ops with the Walter Cup. So anyway, I got my picture taken with it, which is kind of cool. I'll always have that.
That is cool. That's right.
So that's kind of the arena. They opened with a performance by Jamie Fine, who is an Ottawa-based recording artist, Juno nominated. Her music is not for me, but the children's seem to like it. But she did one of her famous songs, right? Maybe her only famous song. Do Not Ask Me, I Do Not Know. And then she did a medley of several other famous songs and got joined by Gabby Hughes on stage, who sang the kind of the ultimate portion of that with her, which was, I mean, Gabby Hughes has just been basically going to every party in Ottawa for the last month. Like, she's been showing up at like various festivals and usually having quite a bit to drink and just meeting people. So she seems to be enjoying herself.
Excellent.
Let's go.
Something's got to keep her in Ottawa.
Yeah. Oh, but by all accounts, she likes it here. Somebody likes it here, which is good.
Hey.
Yay.
So it was okay. Like, honestly, again, for $15, I can't complain. It was nice. Once you got inside, it was quite nice. They definitely spent a lot of money on the stuff for the players to make them feel like they're world-class athletes, which they are. Mm-hmm. And I mean, when you think about sort of how the old NHL draft floor used to look, I think that they were treated better than that because they weren't just sitting in bleachers. Like, they had nice big couches for the sort of top prospects with their family. They had tables for most of them. There was a whole cheering section for Abby Newhook right to my side, and they were just waiting all night for her to get picked.
Yeah, go figure that happened like within a round after you'd left.
Yeah, it happened a couple, like just as we were leaving, they picked her. Because
they did send Rob Pizzo up to like interview her cheering section for the broadcast.
Oh yeah, that was like right to the left of me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so, you did show up at least once on the broadcast. We did spot you.
I mean, I spotted me because they were showing it. They showed most of the broadcast, so I was right to the left of like Kenzie and Pounder
and
were right
Starman.
to the left of me there.
Yeah,
and unfortunately, Starman was there.
Yeah,
I said,
Starman
shut
was
up.
there.
I said, shut up, Starman, so much that the girls behind me started giggling every time I said it.
Thank you. I yelled that several times in Discord as well.
Yeah, I've yelled it at him in person now. I mean, not too loud because I don't want to get in trouble, but I've been like, I was not quiet. I was like, shut up, Starman. Idiot.
Thank you for doing the Thank you for doing the Lord's work, sir. We salute you.
Yeah, we didn't have to hear about that for quite a while. They had one screen up that had the live broadcast, which was surreal. And then they had one screen that had nothing at all on it. It just said PWHL Draft. I don't know why they did it that way.
That is weird.
So yeah, that's the production. It looked nice. It was a very interesting event to see from that perspective. Once they actually kicked off the draft proper, they had good. I mean, I'm sure you saw the graphics at home, but they looked really good in the arena.
Yeah,
they looked really good. It looked pretty slick. So I felt they did a really good job.
I think the weirdest thing about the actual like TV presentation was that you could really hear it when they were piping in the panel chatter into the room. There was like, it caused a distinct echo on the broadcast, which was not great. And then it was just like super weird to listen to the panel chatter when you about like the coaches and the GMs and the players, when you knew that they could all hear all of it. And I felt awkward. Like it was like cringy. And then like sometimes they wouldn't pipe in the chatter and you could immediately tell because that awful echo went away.
So generally they weren't bringing in any of the panel conversation during, like after the pick was made, the panel conversation would be cut off. Almost always in the middle of what Dave Starman was saying. And then up until they did the Rob Pizzo interview, there would be nothing in the arena. So it was interesting. I would not recommend they do that in the future. Like show the Pizzo, show the interview. That's fine. But
you know what they needed was like music.
Well, there's music playing the whole time.
Oh,
not
really?
Not on the broadcast. There wasn't.
No, there was no music on the broadcast. Like I'm sure they couldn't get any rights.
Yeah, they needed to give Kenzie and Pounder a break after like hour 2.5. You could tell by the end of it that they were done.
Pounder, when I left, Pounder was like sitting there during a break, and she was just like holding her head in her hands. She looked tired. Kenzie, I think, still had the energy, but she's young.
Yeah, I mean, her Pounder's for sure, but even Kenzie's voice was starting to go by the end of it.
Well, I mean, you're talking for 4 hours.
They needed more people.
Yeah,
they just needed more people to give people, like they needed to at least spell off the analysts.
Yeah,
Pounder,
or, like bring in like Daniela Ponticelli and Becky Keller and just like kind of rotate them out every so often or get different opinions.
It was 4 hours and they were on constantly.
The only guest they brought on while I was there was Rory Gilday.
Yep.
So I felt that was a bit of a missed opportunity. The other thing I will say is at one point they had Tessa Bonham and Julia Teixeira in the crowd doing a giveaway. And the giveaway consisted of them each throwing 2 T-shirts into the crowd. And I just...
Come on.
I saw that and I was like... Okay.
Maybe more? Maybe do a little bit more, guys.
Yeah. The only time they showed up on the broadcast was like as the draft was over and they were cutting to them kind of to hype up their episode, talking about like some of the draft interviews they did. So that's the only time they showed up for us.
Yeah, no, they were there, but yeah, that was the only time I really saw them. So yeah, but like I said, overall it was pretty slick. I thought they did a very good job. It looked very professional and it looked very elegant in places, and I think that's the sort of the atmosphere they wanted to convey. I suppose.
Yeah, there was. I would like to say, like, as far as like looking elegant, first overall pick was certainly that little white vest that like half of the players were wearing.
Yeah.
I gotta tell you, I did not realize that I thought I was going to the draft. I did not realize I had bought 2 tickets to the gun show.
No kidding. Holy smokes.
Because
there
were some biceps on display.
Some of those ladies were fully loaded, but I want to specifically shout out Dale Ross, who walks like Arnold Schwarzenegger, and she's got the thews of like just absolutely ripped.
Well, the joke that I made in Discord
Good for her.
that I made specifically for you, Benjamin, is she puts Jade Cargill to shame.
I wouldn't go that far because Jade Cargill Jade Cargill probably has enhancements that you can't get away with as a professional athlete. But they cut to her and she was really emotional. And yeah, I was just like, that is a jacked lady. Just jacked.
Yeah, we saw her too on the broadcast, and like, holy smoke! I think I just started cackling when I saw her because
But it was a great outfit choice. I was just really surprised by how very, very many of them were dressed identically.
Hey, you know what? It's the style. I am not a fashion person, but there were some very nicely dressed people last night. The one Hannah Murphy was really nicely dressed, I thought.
Seattle pick.
Who's the one in the green shirt? That one was really good.
Oh yeah, that green with the thing around the neck. Yeah, I remember that.
They call it the scarf. It's called a scarf, SJ.
Okay, well, sure. No, I remember bringing that up. I can probably remember.
Yeah, hold on. Let's see. Control F for green.
Actually searching instead of just like scrolling back.
Was it for Clara Van Wieren?
Oh, it might have been.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was. Right. You're right. Yeah,
there we go.
That was a really good look she had. But overall, yeah, it definitely was. I remember the face. So do we want to...
Yeah, a lot of really great outfits.
So do you want to maybe talk about the hockey ramifications of the draft?
Yeah, we have to.
Okay. If we have to. So, first overall pick, the New York Sirens take Kristina Kaltenkova, forward from Czechia, previously played for Colgate University. What did you folks think of this pick?
I thought that by the time of the draft, they come down to, does New York want a defender? Does New York want a forward? And as we were about to find out, New York felt they had a surfeit of defenders, so it makes sense that they would take Kaltenkova.
Don't ask me about prospects. I am woefully ignorant, and I proclaim as such. So,
yeah, I definitely went into this draft not knowing much about the players. I just cannot bring myself to follow college hockey.
Yeah.
But I saw a couple of mocks here and there, so I kind of had an idea of who the top, 6 or 7 were. And Kaltenkova was definitely not an out-of-nowhere pick. She had been mocked pretty high and even first on a few lists.
I would say the first round went chalk up into a certain point, and we'll get to that point. Haley Wynn to the Fleet, I think, makes a lot of sense. Best available player, and I think she'll do very good there. And then, all of a sudden, the proceedings came to a halt.
By God, that's New York's music!
I really laughed when Cassie Campbell went up there and announced the trade, and the whole crowd gasped and went, wow! And then she was, really tickled by that.
Yeah, so
she's like, "Oh, that was good."
Toronto receives Ella Shelton for Toronto's first and fourth round pick. The third overall pick then becomes Casey O'Brien, who was pretty much the guaranteed number 2 on all as for forwards for all previews. Montreal grabs Nicole Gosling to replace Kayla Burns. Ottawa Charge drafts Rory Gilday, who I think, again, pretty much chalk. That was the next best available defender. They needed a defender after they lost Ashton Bell and Annette Terelova. Minnesota grabs Kendall Cooper, kind of the same thing. And then Vancouver goes slightly off script to take Michelle Karvinen, the captain of Team Finland from Frölunda HC in the SDHL. Karvinen is one of the top scoring players for in SDHL history, and is, I believe, the top scoring Finnish woman of all time. So she's 35. She'll be one of the oldest players in the league next year. And boy, oh boy, does that not tell you what Vancouver is thinking in year one. They are thinking win now.
I'm not complaining. I'll say that much.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think this was a great pick. It was such a win now pick. And I mean, Vancouver is probably going to turn over half their roster, more than half their roster next year anyway. I wouldn't be surprised if Karvinen sides for like 1 year.
Two quick non-hockey thoughts. Number one, I said it in the Discord, but that hat though, that was great.
Yeah.
The hat's great.
Karvinen came in rocking a really fun hat.
And two, thank you, Vancouver, for drafting a player who's older than me, so I don't have to feel ancient watching their games. That was my big worry, seeing their roster. So, and there's only in last year, I think there was only 3 players who were older than me, so it was slim pickings.
That's how I felt when Seattle took Mark Giordano in the expansion draft. I was like, oh, well, okay.
You're still a spring chicken. You're still young and spry. Yeah, I get you. I'm right there with you on that. So thank goodness for that. Other than that, when I heard about a lot of her accolades, I'm like, all right, cool. I don't mind. Like, again, I don't necessarily know about prospects. I don't mind if we're gonna go older because there's still other rounds. But yeah, this is definitely a win now pick, and this is a team that, from their first signing, was, hey, how do we assemble the best possible roster for year one?
Yep. Seattle finishes off the first round by picking Jenna Buglioni. We're not going to go over this pick by pick, I think.
No, I think first round's fine.
Other than Karvinen,
let's pick out some themes.
Well, I got a couple thoughts, but other than Karvinen, I think the first round was pretty chalk. Second round, I think, continued that way until we got to Ottawa's pick. So I think it's fair to say Ottawa wanted Natalie Malinkova. And when she went to Montreal, Ottawa pivoted and picked Anna Shoshina, I don't know, from Dynamo Neva St. Petersburg in the ZHHL, which makes her the second Russian ever drafted, and if she signs, would become the first Russian player in the PWHL. Now, I don't know about you, but people in the crowd were shocked by this pick. They were blown away.
The mics are very good at picking out crowd noise. But yeah, we didn't really hear much for that one, or if there was, I wasn't paying attention to it. So
I think this was an off the board pick. And I think not least because there's no guarantee she actually comes over.
So, Shokina, to be clear, 28 years old, has been in the ZHHL for quite a while, since the 2012-13 season. She has racked up the league total here on 833 points in 430 games over 13 seasons.
Whoa!
I mean, that's pretty cool, but also this is not a strong league.
Well, here,
like the Russian women's league is not the Russian men's league.
Hold on, sorry, you said 13 years? And she's 28?
Yes.
That's a decent chunk. Yeah,
she's been playing with the Russian women's adult league since she was 15 years old.
Yes, that's less rare in European leagues.
Well, it's less rare in Russia. So you are right to say that the Russian women's league is absolutely not to the same level as, say, the SDHL or the Finnish women's league or the Czech women. Like, that is all very, very true. But we don't really know how good it is because there are literally no players in the league who are not from Russia. So because those players have never really played internationally, other than at the Olympics and World Championships, which they've been out of for a few years because of the invasion of Ukraine, we don't really know where the Russian team stacks up. We don't know where the top Russian talent stacks up.
Mm-hmm.
So this could be a very, very good player dominating an okay league, or this could be an okay player dominating a really shitty league. And we don't know. And if it's the first one, then Mike Hirshfeld's a genius who just got a very good player, possibly bet anyone better than for 2 years than the prospects coming out of college at that time. And if it's the latter, then Mike Hirshfeld just blew his second round pick, desperately needed to replace the scoring loss in expansion and free agency. So it's certainly the biggest gamble of the draft, in my opinion. They also spent their final pick on another Russian player, Fenuza Kadyrova, also from Dynamo Neva St. Petersburg, plays with Shokina, and by all accounts is not as good, but may have pre-existing chemistry and all that. I am really interested.
I think we all kind of are, to be honest, because, as you mentioned, we don't have a Russian player in the league, so it'd be interesting to see how they stack up. And, like, Ottawa's also had the reputation of being the international team in the PWHL since year one. So I wonder if that'll potentially help. And if anything, it's not a surprise to see that they are the ones who are going to take the gamble like this.
So there were some Go ahead.
I'm just looking at Shokina's Olympic stats. 2 points in 5 games at the Olympics in 2022.
Beijing.
I believe. And then going back to 2018, 5 points in 6 games.
It's not bad.
So
her PIM numbers in 2018 were crazy though. Yeah, but she was a minus player both times.
Well, I mean, how did the Russian athletes do both times?
No, not
right?
well.
Like,
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So she has 11, according to Elite Prospects, 11 points in 17 Olympic games, 5 points in 9 World Championships games, 19 points in 16 under 18 games. That's 3 under 18 tournaments again. That is quite a lot. So the question is she a player who needs better skill around her to break out? Will she elevate? Like these are questions. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. Like it's the gamble, and I think if this falls on its face, I think it should be Mike Hirshfeld.
I think Mike has clearly got this philosophy that he is going to exploit a market inefficiency with the international picks, going back to the Akane Shiga pick from Japan. They kind of brought her in. She'd never played in North America. She hadn't played in the NCAA. Really, she was kind of an unknown. She was an undrafted player, but she had done well internationally with the Japan women's team. So he was like, well, let's take a flyer on Shiga. Ultimately, she didn't work out. She could not seem to score in the PWHL the way that she did in Japan International. And she went to the SDHL. But like those kinds of choices, going really hard on the Czech players is kind of in line with this philosophy. And now these 2 Russian picks, he's clearly looking for an edge, and it's really unknown whether or not that is a real edge or if that is in Mike's mind kind of an edge.
So I agree with that, and he certainly tried to do that with his trades, like moving a player whose value he believed had peaked to obtain Shan Darkangelo, and I think it's fair to say that Lexi Agia was never as good as she was the first 5 games of the PWHL, and still isn't. And then D'Arcangelo had a very good year for Ottawa, but he did not make a big offer to retain her because he thinks she had a unicorn year, and it's tough for me to argue with that. He traded Amanda Boulier for Teresa Vanashova, who had not had a great starting of her career in Montreal, did not do great in Ottawa year 1, year 2. Obviously, she blew up and was one of the best players on the team. So he's been very good at identifying these sorts of players and finding ways to bring them in. And he's very good at selling at the right point.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he moved on from Skamura at the right point. She did nothing last year. I'm surprised she got a contract. Like, how bad she was. And Victoria Bach, by no means, was a great player for us, but she was better than Skamura had been. And we traded down from Harmon to Larocque. Larocque was fine, if old. I'm worried about this year more than last year. So I think he's good at that sort of stuff. But I really, really, really would have preferred to see this player taken in the 3rd round. I think she would have been available. And I'm not a fan of his, and I really don't like his 3rd round pick where he went well off the board to pick someone because Carla McLeod was their high school coach.
I definitely laughed when they showed that like high school prom picture or whatever that was with her and Carla McLeod. I was like, okay, I see.
Yep.
Yeah, and to be clear, that pre-existing chemistry is a thing, but this is a player who probably would have been available in the 4th round. So it just felt like we took a bunch of players too early. I'm a big fan of the pick.
To be clear, I do want to say the real crime there was making the mayor of Ottawa try to pronounce her name.
Sarah
Wozniewicz.
I was very hoping for Ottawa to get Sarah Hjalmarsson, who ended up in
Toronto.
So I hear him say Sarah.
Many rounds later, Sarah Hjalmarsson went way late.
5th, I think, is when she went. 5th round? Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah, he could have taken her.
I was sitting there, he goes, Sarah, and then he pauses like he can't pronounce the last name. And I'm like, and then it was a different unpronounceable last name, and I was very brokenhearted.
A real roller coaster.
Yeah, I really like Ottawa picking up Sani Aola. That I think is very smart. Again, the market inefficiency.
I thought that was a real steal. And Seattle took a goaltender in the 2nd round, and a goaltender did not go off the board for a couple of rounds later.
It wasn't until middle of the 4th round when the next one went. I'm actually surprised that Seattle was the first one to do it. I figured it would be New York because they're the ones who would need one the most. And ultimately, they did end up drafting 2 goalies, but they had the capital to spare, and I'm sure we'll talk about that in time. But, I don't know. Just surprising to see the order of operations for that.
I want to talk about the next trade. So that occurred in the 2nd round where Toronto traded Kristen Campbell in their 3rd to Vancouver for Vancouver's 2nd and 3rd. So, Trevor, how do you feel about acquiring Kristen Campbell?
Mixed. I mean, on one hand, you've got a real Team Canada duo now of Kristen Campbell and Emirates Mashmeyer in Vancouver.
But one of them is Kristen Campbell.
And therein lies the problem. She fell off a cliff last season. Remember, this is goaltender of the year in year 1, and then just fell flat on her face. I don't know if it was injuries or what was going on, but she was not the same goaltender. And I worry that that's just going to continue. At least this way she can kind of be a backup. But also, that's a lot of money. We were already wondering how Vancouver is able to make their salary work as is. But that's a big contract to be taking on in Kristen Campbell.
I do think Campbell's going to be playing behind a lot better defense in Vancouver. than she was in Toronto this past year, so that's going to help her. Again, she is also going to be playing as a backup to Emmerin Smashmeyer. So depending upon whether she's like more of a rhythm goalie or what, that might help. But yeah, I really don't understand how Vancouver is making the money work.
Yeah.
I'm not asking. I'm just admiring and enjoying.
Vancouver then immediately turns that pick into, just making sure I get the name right here, Kiera Zanon. So they get some more help at forward. Vancouver because they traded up in the third round, they get Nina Jobe-Smith, who I think they really wanted, both because very good player and also for WAG's reasons. So I think that is
WAG's reasons, huh?
Yeah, it's Ashton Bell's girlfriend.
Oh, really? Neat.
Okay.
Did not know that. Also, I don't.
Is that a consideration?
I think in this league it is.
I don't follow this.
I mean,
maybe.
I found out that like Kava and Greco are a thing for that reason as well. Benjamin's nodding like profusely. Like apparently this is very well known that they're a thing. I only find out like thanks to them getting signed.
I would say it's well known that they're a thing, but like I would not be surprised if acquiring WAGs is one of the reasons Vancouver's been able to convince people to take less money.
See, I also kind of figured that maybe they went for Nina Jobe-Smith because she's local.
I think that helps.
Maybe it's third reason.
I think it's like a threefer, right? You get a local good player who's dating one of your other good players. Congratulations.
Mm-hmm. So as long as they don't have a horrible breakup and destroy the locker room, everything's fine.
Never happen.
Never.
Or maybe it will. I don't know. If it happens,
I mean, it could absolutely happen. Come on.
You mean locker room drama that splits apart? Locker room drama that splits apart a dressing room in Vancouver? Nah, it couldn't happen. Not at all.
Well, at least we don't.
I do think it's very funny. I do think it's very funny that Benjamin is the only one who like keeps track of the whole relationships thing.
I don't keep track of it. I'm on a group chat with lesbians, and they talk about the shit all the time.
You know what? Validate. Tell them to join our Discord so we can get in on the loop on this.
I am the token straight guy in a group chat of Ottawa lesbian fans, and they talk about this shit all the fucking time.
Hell yeah.
Shout out to them.
That's right. No, they're wonderful people. I love them very much. Just, yeah, I can't unlearn this stuff. So yeah, overall, yeah, I don't have any more opinions on the draft itself. I don't know the prospects enough. I do think a lot of these players are likely to hit the ice just because the team just added 50 new jobs and we only added 48 players to draft.
Mm-hmm.
As an Ottawa fan, I really hope this gamble works. And yeah, I don't know. Every year we're going to see this for the foreseeable future, where vast amount of players clear out, vast amount of new players come in.
Yeah, I think it was Sauvageau called it a short-term league.
Yep. Oh, and two other thoughts. So obviously there was the trade Abby Roque to Montreal. When it was announced Kristin O'Neill was part of the return, the Montreal fans in the room gasped. Oh,
that was so audible on the broadcast too. It's like you heard Abby Roque. It's like okay, and then Kristin O'Neill, just a collection of.
I was really surprised that they managed to. I don't. Perhaps I should say dump Abby Roque's contract. She was not a player who was living up to her foundational player signing status. So yeah, I thought it was really. I can definitely see why they wanted to move her, but to get a good asset back was surprising to me.
Yep. And the other thing I wanted to say is Danièle Sauvageau, of course, was inducted into the Hockey Hall of Fame, or will be inducted in the Hockey Hall of Fame. Her selection was announced. The first ever woman to be inducted as a builder. She received several standing ovations during the night, and well-deserved. Sauvageau is a legend in the game of hockey. Don't tell me women's hockey. She's a legend in the game of hockey. in a very real sense, she created the modern women's game. And the 2002 victory, where she was head coach, is simply legendary. I have had the privilege of attending a talk by her that work paid for, a very small, intimate group of people. Powerful motivational speaker, and listening to her recant some of the stuff, some of the leadership techniques she used with her hockey teams was incredible. I think she's the best general manager in the league. Even though they haven't won yet, I think she's just makes the smartest plays, and it's very clear to me that this was an incredible overdue, and you could not say how well deserved it was, her election to the Hockey Hall of Fame.
Yeah, they showed her like tearing up a little bit on the broadcast the first time they congratulated her. So, yeah, it was clearly very meaningful to her. It was really great to see her get in, along with Botterill and Decker as players. So, a great night for the women's game. Overall, what did you think of the moves that Daoust made for the Sirens?
I think going into this draft, there may not have been a hotter seat than his, because I think a lot of people online were incredulous at how he handled the expansion draft, protecting 3 defenders, letting some of his top-end talent walk. Like, we discussed a couple weeks ago that out of, like, before even the signings, like, just after the expansion draft, that over a quarter of their offense is gone just from expansion draft alone.
Mm-hmm.
And using that plethora of defensive talent, I think he did one of the best things he could in moving one of them, and probably the one that would get you the best return when he swapped
and the one
Shelton
he didn't
out.
Protect.
Yeah. By moving Shelton out to get forward talent, and like arguably one of the top forwards in the draft. Like, she was the Patty Kazmaier Award winner, if my memory serves, and
right.
was the offensive leader in college hockey by a country mile. So, and then, Kaltun Kova, forward, Casey O'Brien, forward. Like, one other thing too, when I was thinking about it earlier today, out of every team's allowed 6 picks, Ottawa was the only Canadian team to make all 6. Montreal, Toronto, and Vancouver made 5 each, because New York basically got all of theirs in return, or basically the equivalent of, like, New York made 9 picks this draft. So talk about restocking your cupboard. And, well, let me doing a quick tally here. Their first 4 picks are forwards: defense, forward, goalie, forward. 2 goalies, 1 defender, 6 forwards. So offense was where New York struggled the most, and that's been apparent from year 1 and continued through year 2 outside of Cillier. Outside of their top line. They went depth with their forwards, and they've amassed a lot of talent.
I mean, I would also like to note, and I've said this before, they were the worst defensive league in the team at 5-on-5. They could not keep the puck out of the net at 5-on-5. And I thought it was very strange in that context when he doubled and tripled down on his decor in the expansion draft. So I'm not gonna like wave the banners at this point for the Sirens. I think they are a big unknown this year. He is basically completely rebuilt his forward group. He has only slightly altered his defense group. He lost his number 1 goalie. He's got. He still has a goalie, and he took a couple of goalies, and who knows what that position is going to look like this year. So I think that I agree that he did an incredible job kind of reloading his talent this year, but it is very much a who knows situation.
I agree with what Trevor said. I think that this was a make or break draft for Pascal Daoust, and I don't know if he made it or broke it, but he has I think that when you signed Jinsey Rose, you made it so Ella Shelton was to an extent expendable. If you believe that Maya Nyland Pearson can play up, you don't need Ella Shelton. He did need another big forward, and that's what he got in Casey O'Brien. They acquired Kristin O'Neill, who may have been underutilized in Montreal. They added a bunch of forwards, and I think they're very much believe Kaylee Osborne is a starter. And they picked up Callie Shanahan to back up and push. Osborne had a very good year last year, but I don't know how much leash she's going to have. The one thing we know is they freed up a bunch of money. A bunch of money. And if you're going to sit there and try to sign Sarah Fillier to a longer deal than 1 year, you probably have to back up the Brinks truck.
Yeah. It should be mentioned too quickly. SJ, you mentioned that Shelton wasn't protected. She was one of the protected ones. It was Bourbonnais who wasn't protected.
And like I don't know that he's done.
Me misremembering.
I don't know that he's done moving players. I would not be surprised.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Would not be surprised to see Bourbonnais on the way out.
Yeah, like he basically blew up the entire original core and like year one roster, aside from like Zandy Hart, who's like I guess is built around.
Is this a? It's not the. I know you love Alex Carpenter, and I know you're excited to get Corinne Schroeder, but that core was not winning hockey games. So he said, you know what? In a league like this, it is possible to get an entirely new core. And he did it.
Yep.
I don't think we've ever seen an NHL GM in the modern era trade away that level of talent for that level of return. And I think if he fails, at least it's going to be spectacular.
Yep. For sure. They definitely became one of the most fascinating teams to watch for next season.
And I mean, on the other end, Gina Kingsbury was on 2 of those trades as well. So clearly committing to, damn it, remind me who their backup goalie is.
Reagan Kirk?
Yeah, clearly committing to Reagan Kirk. And bringing in Ella Shelton to bolster a defensive core that was lacking last year.
Yeah. I mean, if anything, too, now you at least have someone that you can give Renata Fast a break for once.
I wouldn't be surprised if it's going to be Fast and Shelton on the top pair, and then Savannah Harmon moves down to the second pair, where I think she's probably better off.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that makes sense. All right. Any other big feelings about the PWHL entry draft?
I do want to give one quick shout out. With the last pick in the draft, Vancouver picked a U Sports girl, the only U Sports girl in this draft. So shout outs to that. Also for it being UBC, and then also the first player of South Asian descent to be drafted with Chanrit Bassi. So
yeah,
cool little banner right there to wave.
It was a cool pick.
Yeah. As someone who just went to UBC today, felt kind of cool to see that.
Yeah, I hope she makes it. That would be great.
Mm-hmm. What about you, SJ? Any more notes, or at least, or how do you also feel about like Seattle, like and who they picked, or like what they've done?
I thought it was interesting they took a goaltender with their second pick. I really don't know anything about any of their picks. I guess my philosophy on this is like, I hope it works. I hope they're good, and I hope the team gels. Question mark. Yeah, who knows? I don't know. I don't know how anybody is going to beat Vancouver at the end of the day. I can only assume that they're paying Teresa Vanashova in like peanuts, and she is secretly an elephant. I got nothing on that. So, yeah, but on the other hand, I do recall back before the first season was played, a lot of the pundits were saying that on paper, the New York Sirens had the best roster going into the season in the league, and they should definitely be a playoff team. And we all know how that worked out. Sometimes, and that's why we play the games. That is why we play the games. So who knows what's going to happen? I can guarantee you it will not turn out exactly the way we all expect.
Yeah. Kudos to the league for a well-put-on event. Kudos to TSN for producing it well. Kudos to the GMs for not being afraid to make big splashes and big moves.
Yeah. Kudos to Kenzie Lalonde and Cheryl Pounder, and many fewer kudos to Dave Starman. I don't hate you. I just don't.
That's one of us on this podcast who doesn't hate him.
You're very much.
I don't hate Dave Starman. I just wish he'd get better at his job and not constantly mention which male player college this person is related to.
Okay, so there's one of us on this podcast who hate Dave Starman. I'll wear it. I'll gladly wear it.
33% of the people on this podcast hate Dave Starman. There's the title, Dave. There's the title, John.
Starman math. There it is. And if I may, once again, huge shout-outs to Canada's true team, the Abbotsford Canucks, for winning. That should be the just sheer lovely irony that it's a Canadian team who wins the American Hockey League.
America is actually the name of 2 continents, not just one country. Just an FYI on that.
It's called America specifically because of the United States. Like, it draws back to the Can-Am League of the 1930s, which merged with the International Hockey League, or that current International Hockey League, become the International America Hockey League. And then they just dropped the international. So it is directly a reference to the United States of America.
Cool. That it doesn't, you don't have to go with that going forward. You can just say,
we do.
The continent.
No, we do. Nope, we do.
All right, fine. It's our cup, and you're just borrowing it. And also the Stanley Cup is our cup.
Wow. Because
we win it every time. And all of those Canadian players on those American teams, they don't count. Anyway, this has been the Neutral Zone Hotel, which is written, hosted, and produced by the Neutral Zone Hotel crew. That's us. Find out more at neutralzonehotel.com. Thank you to Emily Mowbray for designing our fabulous logo. You can follow us on Instagram or Bluesky at Neutral Zone Hotel, all one word, or email us at feedback@neutralzonehotel.com. You can join our Discord at neutralzonehotel.com/Discord if you want to hang out with us. We're super cool. And if you like this episode, please rate us 5 stars on your podcast platform of choice. Click the like button if you're listening on YouTube, or even better, tell one of your friends how much you like this podcast, and then force them to listen to it.
At gunpoint.
So that, not at gunpoint. Do not do that. Just persuade them with your eloquent words how cool this podcast is. Thank you all for listening.